Hello people of the world, welcome to today's episode of Coffee Chats with Jax. For today's video, I wanted to talk to you guys about a new season that I am in, and I'm really excited about it. I am now...
We're in winter now.
I'm talking about like the spiritual season. I've been asked many times on what I want to focus on in this next year of my life, and the main thing that I've struggled with my whole life and that right now I really want to concentrate and I feel like I'm learning about is the concept of identity. And knowing your identity, I feel like comes from a lot of self-confidence, which also comes from self-respect, having healthy relationships. The main thing that I want to talk about today is boundaries. I really want to learn how to implement boundaries into my life because when people have boundaries, they have a lot of self-respect. When we have self-confidence, a lot of that comes from respect for ourselves, and when we have respect for ourselves, that's, I feel like, when people start to respect you more as well. Like, all that kind of flows down from knowing your identity and who you are. What are boundaries to you? Like, how would you define boundaries with people?
Your limit with someone. What is okay and what is not okay for you personally. I've been a people pleaser, and I know you are too, my whole life. I think I've had a lot of experiences, at least growing up, that I can remember of my no not being respected, being expected to kind of just do whatever someone needed whenever they needed it. That doesn't give you a strong sense of what is okay and not okay with you. So Jackie, I don't think she realized it, but she practiced boundaries with me because I was like, hey, do you think that you can help watch my puppy, my new puppy? She set the ground rules and she was like, yes, I want to watch him. However, I don't want you to just expect me to be able to watch him whenever, wherever, all the time, because my time is valuable, and that was kind of the essence of the conversation. Mm-hmm. And I think yeah, it was awkward, but it was also so good for you, and it made me be like, okay.
What I've been told recently about people pleasing, which kind of threw me off and made me feel like, excuse me, was that people pleasing is actually a little selfish. When you are a people pleaser and you don't respect yourself, it means that you're getting your identity out of what people think of you. And so in a way, you're using people for what they think of you. I don't know, does that make sense to you?
That totally makes sense.
So
That's weird to think about.
Yeah, but it's true. It's okay, I need them to be okay so that I will be okay. It doesn't feel selfish because you're not thinking about yourself, you're thinking about them, but you want them to like you and think that you're good enough so that you can feel good enough about yourself. What I've been told all my life, and just kind of the vibe for being a Christian, is that you have to put others before yourself. By having that mindset, oh no, I have to serve everyone. I feel that got very twisted. Mm-hmm. And what the Bible actually tells us to do is love others like we love ourselves. And so if we are not caring about ourselves whatsoever, and we're just pouring everything out that we have on people without having any respect for our own physical, emotional, spiritual needs, then we're not actually loving ourselves or respecting ourselves, and we need to see ourselves how God sees us. That means not treat ourselves just like crap. If you're constantly pouring out for people, and you're just you're not getting filled up, but you're just pouring everything out that you have. Just like Alex said, you're gonna become resentful and you're not gonna want to actually be around anyone, and you're just gonna be empty. And you're supposed to love people from the overflow, which can't be reliant on other people to constantly be filling you up. That's icing on the cake. That's really amazing. But if we find our identity in Jesus and we're getting loved by Him, then the love that we give to everyone else is going to be an overflow from that. We're not just going to be pouring out until we just have nothing left to give. Then we start to want to pour out for people, and we start to want to spend time with people when it comes from a place that is just genuine and pure, and not I have to do this for you because I have to serve you. I have to put your needs first.
It's almost like we're slaves. It's almost like we are not free to think about ourselves because we must be thinking about everyone else all the time. Mm-hmm. And I think that's not truly loving. I think if you can't love yourself enough to say no, then how are you going to love that person if they want to say no? Mm-hmm. Another thing, Brene Brown says, let me quote, choose discomfort over resentment. Say you're in a relationship with someone and I know what this is. Yeah. You break up and you guys are still talking, but something in you is just this is so bad for me. I'm trying to be healthy, I'm trying to get over this. I need a boundary with this person, I need my distance. Boop. You say, hey, just for my health, I'm not gonna talk to you for a while. That's creating a boundary. That is choosing discomfort, because for me, doing something like that is terrifying because you don't wanna make them feel bad. You don't wanna make them feel that I hate him, or what if he thinks that this or that, or I just think every time you need to choose that, or else you're going to feel resentful of that person and it's going to be unhealthy for you. But guess what? We are not responsible for other people's feelings.
No, we are not.
We are not responsible for other people's emotions. We are only responsible for our own. And we can love other people better if we say no sometimes. I mean, you don't really have to do anything, you know? So if you really think about it, if it doesn't sit well in your soul, then you should say no. You should practice that.
Yeah, I think just like think of the reason, why do you feel like you have to do it? For me, the answer is always like, because I don't want them to think less of me. And what happens if they do think less of you? Like, what's the truth behind that? Okay, that means I'm gonna think less of me. So that means something's wrong with me. That's my problem, because I'm only responsible for me. You're responsible for you. And I think like that's what boundaries really are, is just knowing that we all have this bubble around us, and that's what we are in charge of, which is we are in charge of ourselves.
Here's a question. So what do you do when you make a boundary but that person doesn't respect it?
I think that you need to have a conversation with that person, and how they respond should tell you basically whether or not they're a healthy friend to have in your life. Ooh! When you start to respect yourself, you're gonna notice there's some changes probably in the people that you have in your life.
Ooh, that's so true.
Yeah, it's gonna be really cool, because whoever respects your boundaries, you're gonna notice that, oh, they probably have healthy boundaries for themselves as well, because they're gonna understand why you're respecting yourself. If someone crosses your boundaries, then you try and have a conversation with them and you explain to them how it made you uncomfortable, and they don't listen, then maybe that person's just not someone that you can have in your inner circle and share your life with in whatever ways that they made you uncomfortable. Like if you tried to share part of your emotions with them and they didn't respond in a way that made you comfortable, that means that they crossed a boundary, and that means that if they can't respect that, you just don't let them into that part of your life anymore. You don't share those emotions with them, because they're just not going to be a person that you can count on to support you in that kind of way.
And I think once we are clear with what our boundaries are, we are a lot safer being, I mean, we're still going to be disappointed, but it won't be the same kind of like hurt over and over and over and over again.
Boundaries just kind of like gives you a tool.
Yeah.
For like how to handle that for the future.
Yeah.
To be able to create boundaries for yourself really comes from knowing yourself and knowing what makes you comfortable, what makes you uncomfortable, and sometimes that means having to reflect on things in your past or things that just happened today, and just really being aware of your feelings and your emotions, and just knowing what makes me upset, what makes me happy, what kind of people do I want to have in my inner circle, in my everyday life. And then once you've established that, once you know yourself well enough, that's when you can start to put up boundaries like we've been talking about for just keeping yourself sane, basically. And that's where self-respect comes from. Once you respect yourself, that's when the people around you start to respect you. That's where your confidence can grow within yourself, and all that stems from just knowing your identity.
Well, thanks for having me, Jackie.
Well, thanks for being on a video.
I like getting on here talking about things that are very Brene Brown.
I
just like
Brene Brown a lot. We have to go because we're going to Disneyland. What? Okay, guys, I'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video today on Coffee Chats with Jax. If you enjoyed what we had to say, and if this interests you to the slightest bit, or if you have stories, questions, comments, concerns that you want to continue talking about this with, then we're going to be continuing this conversation specifically over on my Patreon page that you can visit by clicking that link. Right there on the side that says Patreon is going to be a box over the word. Click that, or you can click the link in the description box below that says Join My Family. That is where we are going to be continuing this conversation and just sharing stories and really getting to know each other, guys, just like a family, because that's what we are. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will talk to you next time. Bye. Okay, I'm done. Let's go to Disneyland.